All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr. Reaction time. First two games of the night. Kentucky Ole Miss, Florida Vanderbilt. And Max, interesting results in both. As we talk about it, Ole Miss 98, Kentucky 84, Florida 86, Vanderbilt 75. Of course, one of the bigger stories in this game, 2-point guards, or both these games, 2-point guards not playing. We knew Kirk Creesa wasn't going to play, but Lamont Butler for Kentucky we knew was out. And then no Walter Clayton for Florida, which made things a little bit interesting from the jump against Vanderbilt, who led at halftime of that game. But I know that a lot of people jumping in right now are going to want to talk about the Cats. And yeah, we kind of thought it would be this way, Max. I mean, there really wasn't anything in this game that surprised us, right? Because we said coming in, if you look at this, the defensive numbers for Kentucky just have not been good. Ole Miss got off to a hot start. They scored 54 at the half. They're up 23 after the first 20 minutes of this game. And, I mean, they wind up scoring 98. So it's not like, Kentucky rallied, made it interesting late, but still gave up 44 points in the second half. And then we knew that just they only turned it over 8 times, but I think you could just sort of, you could tell, right? Like, no Butler. It's such a difference on this team right now. But the bigger story is the defense. I mean, let's call it what it is.
Yeah, and then you see that fight. You see that third quarter Cat fight, but just too little, too late. The hole had already been dug. Shane, in a loss, so it's gonna be it's going to be kind of a weird one to look back on, but the 4th triple-double in Kentucky basketball history. And you think about the bigs in the history of Kentucky basketball, only the 4th one. Amari Williams gets that 10th assist there on that Oweh back cut, one of the last possessions of the game to get that triple-double. But you do so in a pretty big loss. You know what, Blake, we were talking before this game, and we were like, I kind of got a feeling Kentucky might go in there and win this thing. They haven't lost as an underdog yet. But then I remembered a comment that Bruce Pearl made, and he said, folks, what a lot of you guys don't realize is how good that staff is at Ole Miss. That might be one of the best staffs in the nation when it comes to Mark Adams and Wes Flanagan backing up Chris Beard. And I was just like, Ole Miss backs against the wall, playing against a team that's just going to be so vulnerable to that Ole Miss defense. I have a hard time believing it's going to happen, and that's the way it played out here.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the surface, like, it was a bad matchup. It's the reason why we all picked Ole Miss. Like, it just was not a good matchup for Kentucky without their point guards. And it also was not a good matchup because, like we said, Ole Miss has not been playing bad. Like, forget the whole lost 4 or 5 or whatever the number was, right? Like, they had a chance to win pretty much all of those games. And we just mentioned, like, they're just not a bad team. And I think that's kind of what it came down to here. You knew that if they came out, the older guards, like we said, we're trying to find the kind of teams that are going to struggle or the teams Kentucky's going to struggle against. Like, this was one of those teams. We talked about what Ole Miss did to Alabama. And we're like, but the difference is, like, Kentucky has been considerably worse defensively than Alabama. And, you just kind of look at it from that standpoint. They're missing key players. And you just knew that if the guards came out, play the way they were going to for Ole Miss, it was going to be, a problem. Murrell scores 24 in this game, goes 6 of 11 from 3. And then you just keep going down the line, right? Dre Davis, your guy, 17 points. Juju Murray with 15. 10 assists. He had a double-double. So, I mean, even Pedulla, right, scores 8 points, but he has 8 assists. I mean, it's just this was the kind of team that you figured that if Kentucky did not play well defensively against, they were going to make them pay, especially, and this goes to the Ole Miss front, when Ole Miss gets all these guys going like this. Of course, Malik did his thing with 16 points, but if they get that top 6 specifically, Max, adding in Brakefield too into that, man, we said it. We're like, we already got them in the Elite 8. And, this is kind of the performance that shows you why. Like, I think they do a lot of good things, and they didn't force a lot of turnovers here, but still managed to run away with this one. So,
Yeah, and you heard the broadcast say a few times, like just mentioning Murrell, how it's kind of shocking how he's doing what he's doing without practicing. Beard says almost every
Yeah.
press conference, and it's weird for Chris Beard to do that because Beard's kind of like Buzz when it comes to injuries. You're not getting anything, and most times he's been like pretty adamant that he's like just taken back by how good Murrell's doing given the severity of his injuries, but it looks like he's able to go out there and still do what he does. When you're looking at the point guards in this league, Blake, there are some darn good point guards, but I forget who said it. You could probably find it. I think it was Skylar and Matt talking about coaching and just like you have to try to figure out how to work with what you got. But at the same time, Lamont Butler, you can't just tell someone, hey, go be Lamont Butler, you know? And here's to kind of put a little bit of context on that. I haven't put this stat out yet. I'll probably put it out tonight or tomorrow morning. But coming into this midweek, there were only 3 players in SEC play so far, halfway through SEC play. Only 3 players had an assist to turnover ratio of 2 or higher. So you're efficient with the ball and you're passing a lot, and an assist rate 30% or higher. So you're passing a lot, creating a lot, and you're really efficient doing it. You're limiting your turnovers. Only 3 players: Ziegler, Sears, and Butler. You think about Ziegler and Sears, if they are removed from their teams, the deficit it creates. Lamont Butler, as a creator for this offense, is statistically on that same level. You take him out, good luck finding another one.
Yeah, there's just not another one. I mean, I think that's that's what it comes down to. Like, it's just, and I think that's the thing, right? I think you're just wanting to see the overall development. Like, we've already established what the issues are for this team in Kentucky. You want to see those issues continue to be corrected and or again developed to where we're not looking ahead a month from now and saying, all right, well, if you're trying to circle a team in that first round, it's a matchup thing, and you're like, uh-oh, this is not the matchup for Kentucky. Go ahead. There's one of your upset picks, right? And I think it's just like, where have we seen them sort of grow beyond just going out and being able to now look, that we did say they were the aggressor in that game against Tennessee a week ago. They came out. I thought they were the aggressor offensively. They played well defensively. But it's just like, then you turn around and you give up 89 points to just a hapless Arkansas team who's not been able to score at all. And then you just come back here on the road and give up 98. Like, the game can be that simple. Like, it's really just, and again, like we said, sure, it's different if Butler's in, but like, I don't think this is a very complicated thing with Kentucky right now. Like, they're not a good defensive team. And until that changes, it's going to be the same thing you've said, Max. The variety of outcomes, it's always going to be this way the rest of the season. And so that's what it comes down to. So,
Good afternoon.
I think it's evening in my part of the country, Max Barr.
Same thing. It's afternoon.
Afternoon, evening, who really cares?
What did you think of the Rebels?
Honestly,
winning by
I
14?
think you guys just summed it up pretty well. I think that Kentucky has kind of gotten along without Butler. Sometimes you'll see that for a while. I just don't think it's sustainable with their point guard situation or their defensive issues. I think Mark Pope still, I mean, he's being criticized now. He's done a good job, but they've run up against their limits.
Yeah, guys, I don't think we've seen a stat like this all year. Non-conference, conference play. Ole Miss, 24 team assists, 1 turnover.
I mean, we knew coming into Kentucky doesn't force turnovers. And it's like,
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, that's been the story all season. Like, one of the reasons why their defensive numbers are so bad and why they have issues is because they legitimately don't really do much of anything to force the other team to make mistakes. And so if you're allowing an SEC team to get what they want and you're not disrupting them offensively, I mean, you're
One
just gonna
turnover in
give
an
up.
SEC game. How do you? Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Like at some point, listen. At some point in the season, you are who you are. Like Kentucky is what they are at this point. Like we're not. I don't, there's no reason anyone should expect a drastic change. Like it may just comes down to just a simple. This is what this team is now. Like they're not bringing in transfers to fix it in February or March. Like they just defensively, this is what they are. Until Butler comes back, like we said, it's gonna be this way. So.
And another thing here that it's just like these are just the cards that you're dealt. And now those microwave guys, as I like to call them, Jaxson Robinson, Kobe Bryant, Ansley Elmore didn't even shoot a shot. It's like those guys that used to just be, whip it to them in the corner, catch and shoot in 2 seconds. And you got to, remember to be up on them. Now they're the ones trying to create. They're the ones starting, playing 30-plus minutes a game. And so you get tired. I mean, what did Kobe Bryant go? 2 of 6. He's not just in that. Their roles are changed, So now the support guys that could be in those positions to, thrive in their roles, now they're asked to do a lot more. And it's they're still figuring it out.
I think if you're Ole Miss, you got points from so many guards tonight, and for once, Pedulla was not leading the way. I mean, these guys are just so old. I remember going to a tournament at a high school tournament in Nashville and watching Matt Murrell play in the game after Walker Kessler played. I mean, that's how long this guy's been playing college ball at this point. Old guards are we've heard that time and time again about how important that is. And you're looking at the teams that are surging now this time of the season. Right now, Ole Miss, Missouri, common denominator is what? Old guards.
Yeah, and look at Kentucky's. It's not even. Sometimes it's not even percentage. It's just sheer volume. Look at what their opponents. I mean, it's night and day compared to other teams. Like I don't quite understand it because they still have Otega, Oweh. They still got a few other starters that aren't just like complete just complete like, oh, just target him on defense. He's not going to be able to guard you. They can still have some fight in them. Just these 3-point numbers that are just absolutely bizarre. 13 threes, 11, 12, 13, 7, 12. The only 2 teams that haven't hit double-digit threes on Kentucky and SEC play are Georgia and A&M. Everyone else is hitting 11, 12, 13 threes. They're reining it in. It's what?
Well,
5 games in a row now? 4 games in a row? 5?
I think too. Like we knew Ole Miss was going to come out and play well here, like at least from the start, because we said they kind of had something to prove because they had lost 4 or 5, and we mentioned that the issue if they lose this game, 4 of their next 5 now are on the road. Like they're at LSU, at South Carolina. They get the home game against Mississippi State sandwiched in between that with road games at Vanderbilt and at Auburn. So, and their remaining schedule, again, add in the aspect that 4 of their next 5 are on the road. Those final 3 games, home against Oklahoma, home against Tennessee, at Florida. So it's like, again, like Ole Miss is a team that's safely in the NCAA tournament. But it is a confidence and momentum thing, and that's what we said. Like, this is a year where don't let this turn into multiple losses, right? And this is one of those teams in that middle to upper tier range of teams that all of a sudden found themselves in a 3-game losing streak. And then somehow they overcome the double-digit deficit to beat Texas. And then it's like, well, unfortunately, you got to turn around and play Auburn. And, Auburn did to them what Auburn's done to a lot of other teams. And so, like, this was one where you had no doubt, I think, that Chris Beard was going to have these guys come out and be ready to play. And that's where, again, you talk about the contrast for a team like Kentucky, where they were the team that kind of did that to Tennessee. Ole Miss was the team that did this to Kentucky, where they just came out from the start and said, all right, this is our game. We are going to find a way, and you're going to have to stop us. And, they implemented the way they wanted to play, and it was very simple. We're going to make you play defense, and sure, it helps when a team just hits some shots too, but, they also got just some shots that, quite frankly, anybody at this level is going to hit if they're getting that little sort of pushback defensively. So,
Blake, $10 super chat here from, I believe Nature is an Ole Miss, one of our more consistent Ole Miss.
Nature's an Ole Miss. Yeah.
Ole Miss, gotta be. Yep. I'm wondering where, remember Juju from last year? I wonder where Juju is. But Ole Miss, defense, it's tough. Honestly, they're going to be that team you do not want to play in March. Nature, you have found yourself in the right spot. Okay.
We've already got them in the Elite Eight. Max and I have not seen their bracket. We've already got Ole Miss in the Elite Eight. We called that like 2 weeks ago. We're staying with it. We got them in the Elite Eight no matter what. So
you're in the right spot.
Yeah.
Anything else on Rebels Cats before we talk about the other close one?
We did talk about Ole Miss's upcoming schedule. We can talk about Kentucky's quickly. They get 3 of their next 4 at home. Starts with South Carolina on Saturday. Should be a nice bounce-back spot for the Cats to pick up the win here because, as we know, that does drop them to 4-5 in SEC play. Then they get the rematch against Tennessee a week from today. So that one's in Lexington at Texas. So, yeah, still some big games on the schedule for Kentucky. Like we said, some big home games against Tennessee and Auburn. Big road games coming up, at Texas, at Alabama, Oklahoma, Missouri are the ones still left away from home for the Cats.
Blake here says that Ole Miss win is looking better coming from an Auburn fan. Hey.
I think Auburn's everything just looks better.
I was just going to say, what isn't looking better?
of Auburn right now. But, hey, the Sooners, don't count out the Sooners. 3-point game here, 7 minutes in. Long way to go.
Any given Tuesday.
Kentucky fans, how about this? I know there are a lot of you watching. We certainly have a big Kentucky contingent here, but give us on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your panic level with this team? Give us a number, 0 to 10.
Yeah.
All right. Florida. We'll get back to the Cats after this and Ole Miss because, as always, we'll turn it over to you guys. But Florida 86, Vanderbilt 75. A game where coming in, when we did the preview, we kind of said we didn't know Walter Clayton, wasn't sure exactly how it was going to play out. He didn't play in this game. I don't know if that should have been a big shock based on what we saw in the Tennessee game and the way that injury was. And so Florida gets a win here. Vanderbilt, I thought, got off to a fine start, but give the Gators credit, too. It's like they just played a team that was shorthanded in Tennessee. We saw how it kind of played out, but I think you sort of look at this here, and without Clayton, you still know what you're getting with this Florida team, and I think that's what I like about them is they can win in a variety of ways, whether it's, Condon stepping up, having a huge game, or obviously Will Richard had a great game here, 5 of 7 from 3, finished with 21 points. Also had 7 rebounds too. Yeah, I just like this. I still like this Florida rotation. I think it's one that they do have just so many guys who play key roles on this team, and I thought this was kind of one where Florida's down 1 at half, but they really were able to turn it on there towards the end to pull away. So.
Thought that was the tale of two halves, and a lot of the story was who was missing. First half, Florida doesn't have Clayton, of course, didn't have him for the game, as you mentioned, and Elijah Martin went out with, I think that game got physical for a while, and I think there was some contact. He went to the locker room hurt. So they're running Denzel Aberdeen at the point, and they're playing, they were playing somebody who barely plays as an upshot of that too. Klavzar, who gave him like 10 minutes in the first half. So it's 1 point at half. Second half, Florida shoots 63%. I think we mentioned in the preview our concern for Vanderbilt pulling an upset. We just didn't see much of a path because of Florida's height. Condon went 19-9 and really kind of took over here and there down the stretch. Chiniello got 4 fouls, but they've got Tommy Howell too. And when McLaughlin, I think Carey fouled out with 5 minutes left. McLaughlin was a couple minutes later, and that was all she wrote. The Vanderbilt was at a disadvantage anyway there because of the height. And when those two guys were done, there went their chance.
Injury theory strikes again. I know they were still favored, but no Walter Clayton. Doesn't matter. I'm going to count it as a win for the injury theory.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even mention probably the biggest guy, which was Will Richard. He was great.
You want to just it backs up the injury theory even more. The whole team steps up when the guy's down. Florida, highest assists as a team in SEC play, 20, without their point guard. Team steps up. Aberdeen, guys at Florida Basketball Hour, if you've been following them like we've been yelling at you too, you would know by now they are very high on this guy. Aberdeen have been for quite some time now, really believing in him. He steps up big when they need him to. And then what was the other thing? Oh, yes. Okay. This game just got out of control for a while. And you can tell because I feel like it was within a few possessions. Jaylen Carey nails a 3, and then Sam Alexis nails a 3. And I'm sitting here going, what is going on in Gainesville? But Florida gets the big win at home. They needed to. I feel like Florida needed a little bit of a pick-me-up, a little bit of a confidence boost. I think they got it here.
Yeah, they were confident, especially who was it? Was it Condon towards the end? Malik can remind me. What was it? Condon get the dunk, and then he just stepped over somebody. Was it Edwards or somebody like that? Like Condon was feeling confident there at the end. But as this Florida team should, I think, like we said, that was a very, very disappointing performance in Knoxville, given the circumstances. We thought that, all right, if you're going in knowing that's your setup, you're thinking Florida's going to win this game. And then to come out and to have that kind of performance, like we mentioned, it's just very uncharacteristic of this team. But we also said usually you can fully expect them to bounce back with a big win. And, look, if Clayton plays in this game, that number is probably a bit higher in terms of the final outcome. But nonetheless, I mean, that's what they've been really, really good at this season is they're a pretty resilient team because they haven't faced a lot of adversity on the court here in terms of, like we said, a 6-point loss to Kentucky, 1-point loss at home against Missouri. So to bounce back that way against a good Vanderbilt team that we also remember said they're not going to be what they were against Oklahoma. Like that was just such a once-in-a-season type second half that they had against Oklahoma probably. And so for them to bounce back, that was – you knew Vanderbilt was going to play better. And I think for Florida to get that win, that's a nice win, knowing that I'm still pretty high on Vanderbilt overall, even though they have kind of hit a bit of a rough patch here. But like we said, so has pretty much most teams in the SEC that are even going to be 5-6 seeds have hit rough patches already this season. So
if we're ranking big man combos, taking the top 3, this is the best one in the league, right?
Wait, say that again?
If we're ranking 3-man, big man combos in the SEC, does Florida have the best 3-man combo in the league? I mean, Alabama would be in that discussion.
I would say Janai Broome, Dylan Cardwell, Chaney Johnson.
Oh yeah, there's those guys too.
I'd go them one. And
see, Auburn is just exempt from all discussion. I don't even think about them because the answer is always Auburn.
Florida, but I think I would start with those 3. Yeah, but I mean it's those 2. Yeah, like in terms of those 3 players for Auburn. Yeah. These 2 teams. Yeah, Florida's definitely right there. Yeah. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got 2 questions. One, if we knew when we were doing our preview Walter Clayton's not playing, were either of you going to take the chance and pick Vandy, or were you still going to pick Florida knowing that Walter Clayton was not going to play?
I was still my theory. Florida. I would have been even more confident about picking Florida had I known Clayton was playing. To be honest with you, I'd have been like, I'm all in on the Gators here because that, as you said, the theory has worked for us. So I would have been like, give the Gators by 30. No.
Yeah, and then the bigs were why I didn't think it was going to in the cards.
Yeah. Here's my second question. It's kind of more for Chris. So entering January and now here, when you're entering January, you're coming off of just you only have the Drake loss. You had the TCU win, and then you played Citadel, Austin Peay, and New Orleans and crushed all of them, and you can't really take much from that. But you were 51 in KenPom going into that. You're 50 right now. Are you still at the same level as you were as a one-loss team to only Drake, or have you changed more than the computers have changed? Because the computers are saying they pretty much have just been right where we expected.
I probably like them better now than I did then because you just didn't know how they'd play against good teams. So some nights it doesn't look well. I mean, I take that back. The Oklahoma game is their only real stinker. They've had some not great spurts of other games, but I mean, you've seen a lot of teams that just beat up on bad schedules, and theirs was a bad schedule. I think it was appropriate because you know what the league's going to be, and they need to build some confidence. But, yeah, I mean, you've seen them beat Tennessee and Kentucky when those teams were playing well, and that's what I need to know about a team. We knew they were going to be limited. We knew they would have limitations, but I wanted to see could they beat good teams, and they've shown that on the right day they can beat good teams.
I agree.
Yep, I think that's fair. All right, let's get to something here with the people. This is where we turn the show over to you.
Yep.
As always, let's see what we need to catch up on. All right. Always a great comment from Philip. The great thing about Sam Strelling is I really have no idea what team he supports. Like, that is, trust me, Philip, you are not the only one in that scenario. Like, that's why Sam is a legend in this category, is because he just has, he can throw you off at any time. He's good at throwing you off the scent. So, all right, we did ask about the Kentucky panic level. Brian had a 10, Matt had a 5, Chico with a 7.
In between.
Mother Carol with a 6.
Okay.
Skylar's not panicked. It is what it is without the full roster. And then I liked Matt's follow-up comment here eventually. Might not have good sports in Kentucky right now, but at least they have plenty of bourbon to deal with it. So
there you go.
Matt making a great point there. And $10 super chat from Steven. We appreciate that, Steven. Yeah, how about Amari Williams? So we can kind of expand on that a little bit. We mentioned earlier about the triple-double, but, I mean, Max, I do. I go back to that game last week against Tennessee, and I'm like, hey, this needs to be an Amari Williams game. And I think you've just seen, like, what the upside is for this guy. Like, it's there. It's just, again, like, I think that's kind of like Kentucky as a whole. There have been ups and downs. Like, I think any player that comes into the SEC is going to have at times. But still, man, it's like when he's playing at a high level, I mean, the guy can just – he can be the stat stuffing machine, like we've seen in a game like this. And, again, he's had some pretty good games here, recently. But it's just – I don't know. I mean, the guy's got a lot of potential and high upside for sure.
What did Pope say? Said he's asking him to do an impossible job right now. He has no clue how Amari Williams is doing what he's doing right now, given how much Pope is and the staff is asking of him. I think the team defensive numbers really, I don't know the right word, but like I feel like those defensive numbers kind of hold Amari Williams back from receiving praise he should be receiving for how well he's playing offensively, because he was touted as the multi-time defensive player of the year coming in, kind of being the anchor. And now he's here getting 10 assists, 12 points. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's probably the best. I mean, is there a better point center other than Danny Wolf in the country than Amari Williams? You could probably come up with a few more names. He's in the conversation nationally for point centers, but the team defense just dampens it.
When was Kentucky's last triple-double before tonight?
I saw
a Kentucky fan can tell us. There's got to be someone in the chat who knows the answer to that.
It was the 4th. I saw that. I don't know who was 1, 2, and 3.
But someone will tell us. All right.
There we go. Briscoe, 2016.
Holy cow.
Interesting.
Who would have ever, I could have guessed.
I don't know. Isaiah Briscoe was very He was very. What's the word?
And Toon says 2016 Briscoe against Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Huh.
Something
I
about
said De'Aaron Fox would have been my choice. So like that makes
Yeah.
sense because he would have been one of the first names that would have came to my mind. Recently traded De'Aaron Fox, of course. Was he in San Antonio now?
let's not get into that.
Is he in San Antonio? Is that right? Did he get traded to the Spurs?
I don't
think so.
follow that stuff.
I think so. Anyways. All right. What else we got here? You guys keep bringing it in the chat. Again, if you're an Auburn fan, we will be recapping this game tomorrow morning. You guys know how it works on the late night games, so the last game of the night usually. That's how we do it. So we will have thoughts on that tomorrow. And let's see what else we need to catch up on here. I think that's all the chats that we see here for now. So you know what? It's a great time to just stop with the basketball talk and get to the real talk. The things that really matter. Well, I guess technically this is also basketball talk. I was going to do the other one first, but you know what? Let's do this first. Let's talk about brackets. Specifically, let's talk about bracket bids. How about that? Because if you're over here, let's say you're an Ole Miss fan, and you've heard Max and I say we automatically got you in the Elite Eight. You're probably thinking to yourself, I can't run fast enough to my bracket to make sure I pick Ole Miss to lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament. If you want to do that, you can take your college hoops experience to the next level with bracket bids, of course, and you can enter into that free pick'em contest or start an auction draft league with friends, family, or coworkers. Everyone starts with the same bidding dollars, as you know. Up to you to outwit and outbid your league mates to secure the teams you think that'll go the distance. Choose from multiple scoring models, including upset bonuses to reward bold picks. Track your teams with live in-game scoring and watch the standings shift in real time. The further your teams advance, the higher you climb the league standings. Always a great idea to pick against us, and you have a great chance of having your teams advance and climb very high in the standings. For league play, use that promo code SE16 for 40% off. SE16, 40% off. Download the Bracket Bids app today or visit bracketbids.com. How about that?
Every time you say the word bracket, I just get 1% more excited for March Madness. We're
Chat,
at like
I've got an idea. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do like this is in college, you chant one thing, right? Like Missouri does the Mizzou, right? So we need somebody to get the chant going in the chat. Somebody says bracket. The next person says bids. Bracket bids. Now, we know who's going to mess this up. Somehow Sam Smith is going to be responsible for throwing this thing off track. But let's see if we can make this happen. All right. Oh, here we go. He's already started it. Let's see if everyone else can chime in. But bracket bids, of course, Big Waller Brett is the one that's actually throwing everything off here. But that's okay. All right. What else we want to talk about here? I guess quickly, we didn't say this a second ago, but we won't really get into this too much. But we do like the upcoming schedule view for some of these teams. Florida did now move to 6-3 in the SEC, so still in that SEC title race. And boy, could they pick one up on Saturday when they head to Auburn. So that's a huge game coming up Saturday. On to Plains, then they go to Mississippi State next Tuesday. Meanwhile, for Vanderbilt, who has now dropped 3 of 4 to go to 4-5 in the league, boy, that schedule is just unreal at times. They host Texas on Saturday, and then I have just very few words to describe the rest of their schedule. Home against Auburn, at Tennessee, at Kentucky, home against Ole Miss, at A&M, home against Missouri, home against the Hogs, at Georgia. Brutal for the Commodores. So there you go.
Phil is a man after my own heart. Going to the old Torvik, filtering the data. Oh, man. Taking a tool out of
his numbers.
Yep. To Max's question, Torvik on December 31st was 46th. Right now, 41st. Moved up 5 spots. Seems about right to Philip. Conference season better than we thought, but still nowhere near the elite. I would agree. Speaking of updated analytics, Kentucky's defense on the season has now moved down to 111. And I believe we saw a comment that it was someone said it might be Ken Palm or Torvik. I don't know which one, but they all kind of run similar. Right here, Bill. Kentucky 111th and Ken Palm, he's talking about their defensive efficiency. They were around 70 before Butler went out. I remember them being around there. So got to outshoot everyone. Hey, proving you guys can.
Well, listen.
Ranked, hang on. Ranked 2 in offense and 111 in defense. Anybody remember a team last year was ranked 2 in offense and 111 in defense?
Okay, so I was going to say, let's all hang on a second, because Alabama finished the season last year at number 2 in the offensive rating in KenPom. They finished the season last year 111 in defensive rating in KenPom. So, Kentucky fans, I want you to remember this moment right here, February the 4th. If you want to look back and say, when we make a Final Four run, I want you all out there to make sure that everyone knows that we pointed this out on February the 4th. The stars were aligning that you could be this year's Alabama. So, there you go.
And the broadcast was saying, they were still, definitely concerned. But the broadcast was saying Butler's coming back. I don't know when, but if they can just get him back to 80%, 90%, can beat anybody. They've proven it.
Chris, when you got Lamont Butler coming back?
Yeah.
Of course, the conversation goes there.
Is it this season or is it next season?
I was Googling to try to get an estimated guess, and I have no idea.
I figured you were over there.
I did read you the headline, and this was
WebMD.
This was not me. You would think this was written by me, but it was not. It was written by someone at On 3. Mark Pope's injury update on Lamont Butler isn't going to inspire optimism.
Well, that sounds like we need to get a shirt. Chris Lee on the back. It's going to say Chris Lee on the front, and on the back it's going to say, "Is it going to inspire optimism?" And then have like a picture of like a broken leg on there, just like hanging off or something. Like that's what we need.
I'm
merch. So merch.
Amputated.
If you want that shirt, give us a thumbs up in the chat. If you want that Chris Lee injury shirt, if you'll pay at least $5.99 for that shirt, all right. Let us know. We need to know what the demand is for that.
At least $5.99.
Yeah. So,
how cool would it be though if in Mark Pope's first season makes the team from scratch, starts out hot, hotter than anyone could have ever imagined, then gets dragged all the way down. You're hitting almost rock bottom. Lost 4 of the last 5. You don't have your 2 point guards, only to just sit back and watch when the hooligans at Southeastern 16 are getting on you to make a run late when the team gets healthy. Would be something.
Speaking of making runs, Auburn looks like the Harlem Globetrotters out here right now. You got Broom running the point from 75 feet away, and he's throwing lobs to Chad Baker-Mazzara for the opposite layup. Like, these guys are just ridiculous.
I just looked up 2 minutes ago, and it said Auburn hasn't scored for 4 minutes.
Well, that changed quickly.
What were you gonna ask?
What does Kentucky need to make the NCAA tournament? 3 more wins? I mean, 4 more would get Kentucky there for sure, right?
I mean,
with all that it banked out of the league, I think.
Are we playing like worst case scenario? Like, could they lose out and are they in? Is that what we're doing?
No, you're going to see what I'm getting at. Okay. I think they'll beat South Carolina and Lexington Saturday. Then you get 2 more. Like at this point, get in the tournament because then anything can happen, right? Now, you probably don't want to get that 8-9 game and end up, the unlucky team to face Auburn or someone like that. But here's my point. If you get Lamont Butler back, I think the prognosis looks a lot different. So, like, how much time do you have to play? Okay, we'd like to have him, but he's 80%, and you rest him another week, and then he's 95% or whatever that looks like. The calculus to me between making sure you get him back and doing just enough to get in could be kind of interesting.
Okay, well, that's an easy answer for me. Kentucky just needs to go 7-11 in the SEC, and they're in.
Yeah.
Comfortably. I know some people think that's wild, but 7-11 with those wins that they have, they're absolutely in. Not even a question. So, like, they're one of those teams at 7-11. I don't agree with everybody being in at 7-11, but Kentucky would get in at 7-11.
Well, and not to mention, you can say, well, we did it without Butler, we did it without Crease. Right. I know he's not coming back, and we also did it without Carr. Like, and if he comes back, then you've got another thing that, that can work for you that is not at the moment.
Well, Carr's playing.
Yeah,
he's just
but he's not Carr.
Right.
Well, but yeah, he is playing though, and so they will factor that in, but like they probably can't do a percentage on him, whereas Butler's not playing at all and Crease is not playing at all. So like I think it's they, like we said, we've had that debate this year. Who are the teams that could get in at 7-11? Kentucky is quite honestly like right there at the top of that list just because of the wins that they banked. So
Big Dirty is having a bit of a rough stretch. He says, "Guys, no, that's not him out there.
It's not Carr.
I saw him play Duke. I saw him play Gonzaga. I saw him be the go-to guy when it mattered the most in big-time games.
Yeah,
that's not who that was a few months ago."
Yeah. All right. What else we got here? We're about to wrap up. Again, we're going to watch this Auburn-Oklahoma game. We'll come back tomorrow morning with thoughts on that, of course, and get you ready for Wednesday night's games. Interesting Wednesday night, as we said. Missouri-Tennessee, huge game coming up tomorrow night in Knoxville. But, some interesting stuff. So, all right. Let's see. There were some – I don't know if we got to these, but I'm going to pull them up real quick. Hog fan here. How's Ole Miss ranked 25th? Shouldn't they be higher? Well, that was the thing. They had lost 4 of 5, and they were still ranked 25th. And so, I mean, that's what we kind of said that, right? Like they're a top 25 team easily, despite losing 4 or 5. They just had so many close calls in there. They just didn't bounce. Just didn't go their way. Especially that A&M game. That's the one they're going to stand out the most because they should have won that game. But they're really good. They are. So.
Yeah, I said it earlier, and it never really sunk in. But when you hear another coach, and last year I listened to more than I listened to this year, but I still listen to a good amount of the pre and post game press conferences. And Bruce doesn't usually. He always gives credit to the other team. I mean, most coaches always say give credit to the other team and everything. But Bruce took a little bit of a time out of his post game to kind of go into the Ole Miss coaching staff and the support that they have, and he was just talking about how elite it is. And when you think about Mark Adams, just him by himself, the defenses that he coached at Tech, he's got the number 1 defense in the Ken Palm era, that Tech team a few years ago with Bryson Williams. So it just goes to show, Ole Miss is, as long as that staff is there, they're going to be a top 25 team for a while. It's just going to be a normal thing now.
Okay, Max, I just looked this up. I knew they weren't good on defense last year. They were 141.
Oh, they were terrible.
This year they are 14. And it's a lot of the same guys. I mean, I know Pedulla's there and Diaz there, but a lot of the same guys. I mean, that's how good Mark Adams is.
Yeah, Dre Davis definitely is a boost. Little Iron Man in there. But yeah, Mark Adams is he's the best defensive coach in the country. So,
all right. Well, here's what the chat told us a minute ago. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna have to stall for a second. I'm trying to pull something up.
Oh man.
This is gonna be. I promise, it's gonna be worth it. I promise. Okay. So. All right, Max, talk about something for a second because trust me. Just trust me on this one, okay? Go ahead.
Talk about something. Oklahoma's hanging in there against Auburn.
Yeah, we did have someone ask what the current score was.
Yeah.
7-point game. Hey, the spread was 17.5. I think I saw 18 at one point today. I'm surprised it's not double digits yet, given whenever you see those Auburn home game spreads that are out there at 15, 16, 17, they usually got that covered by halftime. But I say that, and then a minute is going to go by, and they're going to go on a 9-0 run. So I'm just going to stop talking. Sam wants a Chris Lee 10U update. We haven't gotten one of those in a little while. Yeah. Yep.
Well, Sam, we were unbeaten going into the weekend. Our leading scorer could not play because he was at football camp.
Already starting.
Well, we were getting – I don't know. If we had him, we had a shot. But we did not execute very well. And we got
Is the
clocked.
Committee going to take that into account? Are they going to take into account that your leading scorer was not there, you think?
I don't think it's going to change our seeding. I think we're going to be the 2 seed in the tournament next week.
Next week,
which starts on Tuesday, by the way. So you guys would be doing Tuesday night recaps by yourself.
Wow. All right.
What would you rank
and
your
I think
defensive efficiencies at?
Well, our defense is pretty good. I like the way we guarded. They just hit shots. Offensive efficiency was pretty awful on Saturday. We got down big, and my son just started jacking up threes, which was kind of our best chance to make a comeback.
Oh, you gotta
we got a wing who got a little dribble happy, and he was being guarded by a guy about 8 inches taller than him. So you can guess how that went. It was not good.
Have you watched Mark Byington's videos for the Coaches Association? Philip says he's tempted to shell out the $80 for both of them, but doesn't have a team to coach up. But
Phil, that presumes I got time and would know what to do with it. We have one practice every week. We have not had all 8 kids there at the same practice once. We started practicing in early November.
Did you cancel the shoot around? Is that what happened?
No, I don't do well. I got my assistant who's an Auburn fan.
Okay, John.
Watching shoot arounds. I watch the other team warm up and try to figure out how we're going to defend.
Heard it here first.
Sam, I might need to add Sam. It's getting.
All right. The show is going off the rails quickly. Okay. Skyler said we have to do the ad read or everyone's going to cancel their membership. We got a lot of members now. We don't want that to happen. By the way, the announcement on the watch along, we'll probably do that tomorrow. We're still deciding on the watch along on Saturday what game we're going to do, but we'll let you know.
Might drop a poll on the channel.
We might do a little poll and see what people want us to cover. All right. Bill says that Ole Miss really moved the ball tonight. And Bill says, you know who else can move the ball? I know somebody that can move the ball. I know somebody that probably can move the ball as well as anyone, to be honest with you. And I'm going to tell you right now. What's Chris laughing at before I tell you?
Sam.
Oh, okay. Well, that's just another day.
He wants you to explain how to cancel a membership.
Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to explain about
Sam out of here. Get that out of here.
Because Sanders Logistics, as we know, your friends and mine. When I think of Sanders Logistics, there are some things that come to mind. You ought to know about Sanders Logistics by now, right? You ought to know. And sometimes when I think about Sanders Logistics, you could be moving anywhere in the world. Perhaps you have a little California love.
Ooh.
You see where we're going here? We had the 80s songs earlier. Now we're going 90s. We're going 90s songs now, okay? We're going to the 90s. The people have asked. We want to get there. I can't really work Bop by Hanson into this. I would really like to, but I can't. Baby Got Back is another one I think at some point I'll be able to work into a Sanders Logistics read, but probably not right now. We're singing. Barbie Girl, another possibility. We've got a lot of ones we could work with here on the 90s. I'm not going to lie to you. But instead, we'll tell you about Ted R. Sanders, who I just am going to assume loves the 90s music and the 80s music as well. And isn't it ironic that Ted R. Sanders See that reference there? Huh? Who got that? A leader among moving companies in Nashville, Tennessee, and the surrounding area. Their team of professional movers are focused on delivering efficient, hassle-free moving at an affordable price. You know what I think about efficient, hassle-free moving at an affordable price? I saw the sign, and it opened up my eyes. I saw the sign when I saw Sanders Logistics because, again, there's no one out there that can match what they do. Whether you're moving across town or across the country, Sanders Logistics has you covered the same way that Genuine had you covered with Pony in 1996. You can visit them at TedRSandersMoving.com. Because, as someone said up here, I like to move it. So does Sanders Logistics. Visit them, TedRSandersMoving.com.
Beautiful. That was one of your better ones.
You weren't
that
ready
was one
for
of your better ones. No.
Man, yeah.
I only knew about half the songs, but
I figured that, but
yeah.
As Sam says, you're born in 2014, so it's understandable. Max then would technically qualify for the 10 and under team, wouldn't he? No, maybe 11. I don't know. We have to check the birth certificates. So
I am 12.
All right, we got to go watch this game. I mean, we're watching it now. But we got to go pay attention a little more. So,
hey, Sooners are hanging in there. We got to watch this. We're out
Richard,
of here.
Richard, you know what you're signed up for now. Please, these ad reads are going to wind up being 50 minutes at some point. You know what you're signed up for, Richard. Come on. All right, we're out of here.
We're out of here.
Thank you for watching. We'll be back at it in the morning, working on baseball content on my end as we get ready for the season, interviewing another SEC coach tomorrow. Carey Jaxson will be on with us tomorrow afternoon. That's the plan. Won't be live, but we've had how many baseball coaches have we had on already? It's like at least
Quite
6
a few,
or 7.
Chris.
Yeah, quite a few.
You know how it goes. More money, more problems. Yeah.
That's right. So anyway, we're on to that phase of February.
Quite a few.
You got a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome.
No transfer portals this time of year, Brett. I wish we need another big. But one of my bigs is named Grant Williams. No joke. I made him wear number 2.
Do you happen to have an admiral?
No, I need an admiral. That might be the missing piece. So, anyway, yeah. Thank you for watching. For Max Barr and Blake Lovell, I'm Chris Lee. We are Southeastern 16. God bless you. Have a good night. We'll see you again soon.